Welcome back. Now that we have our rough cut out of the way, it should be smooth sailing as we progress through the edit of this video. Now we're going to dive in and really start adding in some polish, some fine tuning, and bring this project to life. So here's our timeline of the rough cut that we've been working on, and it's set up the exact same way. I haven't touched anything since last time we looked at this. We have the main shot down on the bottom, we have our second angle in the middle here, and then we have our screen recording at the top. In this case, during the rough cut, I did incorporate a lot of the screen recording just because half of this video is going to be screen recording. So it just sort of made sense to do it that way. But now what we're going to do is really start editing with a much more critical eye and ear to make sure things sound good and to make sure everything that's in here really helps push this video forward. You might have heard people say over the years that story is king, and I think that that's true, but I also think that can sort of feel overwhelming sometimes to think like you have to turn a Final Cut Pro tutorial into a story of some kind. So I prefer to think of it as like purpose is king. This video has a specific purpose, so everything in the video should be leading towards that specific purpose. In this case, it's teaching people not only how to do something within Final Cut Pro, but also that that thing even exists. Because the person finding this video might not even know that's a thing yet. And so I kind of have to give them some context, explain what it is, show them how to do it, and not waste their time while doing that. So right now we're at a 16-minute, 56-second runtime, which is fine. I feel like for this subject matter, it's a little bit long. So I would like to see if we could cut that down below 15 minutes, but if not, that's okay. So as we go through this edit, I'm definitely going to be looking at everything that I say and thinking, does this need to be here or can I take that out? Another thing that we're going to be doing is starting to look at how the different clips actually cut into each other. So right now we have these three different angles, right? The main angle, the second angle, and the screen recording. We're going to then add in a fourth angle, which is going to be a crop, which is basically going to look like this, where I've cropped in on this one shot here to give sort of a tighter, more close-up feel, and then I can go back out to the full wide normal version. And so now I have two different angles, for lack of a better term, from this one single camera shot. And whereas with the rough cut, it was very rough. I didn't care if there were cracks and pops between the audio. Now we're gonna really start paying attention to how audio clips transition into one another. I'm really going to be looking at literally like every syllable that we move a cut on. Sometimes it just makes sense to make a certain point on camera and then cut away to something else. And if you're cutting away mid-sentence, sometimes there are certain syllables and little bits of emphasis that it makes sense to add those cuts on. So that's what we're going to start doing here. We did add these markers last time, so I'm gonna start adding in the footage that needs to go over those markers. We'll be doing a little bit of work with keyframes, and we'll probably start adding in a little bit of music and sort of like effects things. The rough cut is something that can be done in one pass, as you saw in the last section where I just did the entire rough cut at once. This, though, getting to a final cut is a process within Final Cut Pro, because typically for a video like this, I'll probably go through somewhere between like 6 to 10 full passes from start to finish of that video. And that's not including other times where if I know there's a section of the video that's going to require kind of more intensive editing, spending more time on that specific section. So this is definitely going to be a lot more of like a development and a building process rather than just a straight through. It's not rough cut and then you go through and final cut and we're done. Unfortunately, it's not that easy, but because we have done such a good job with keeping things organized and setting them up well, it's going to be a lot easier than it could be. So at this point too, if you haven't been using headphones or high quality external speaker monitors to edit your video with, now is the time to make sure that you're doing that. The rough cut is totally fine if you're just using laptop speakers or AirPods or whatever, but now is where we want high quality audio monitoring because we're going to start really paying a lot more attention to that. And typically, what I will do at this point is just start from the beginning. So I like to zoom in a little bit so I can see more of my audio waveforms here. And then I just sort of start going through the project